Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the monastery, the open bar of the internet, the world's greatest shit show, and the place where we, the good brothers and sisters of this most holy of temples, seek enlightenment through the drunkest, craziest, and most batshit ways possible. I am your one and only gaming monk, better known as Mildra, and with me I have two newcomers into the temple. They are the double-headed monster that is Little Dusha. In the red corner we have Adrien Dumonchau. I do apologize if I got that wrong. And in the blue corner we have Valentin Reverdy.
Yeah, perfect.
I think I'm getting better at pronunciation. I should hope so.
Yeah.
I've been practicing for so long.
The last one was very good. I mean, yeah, it's kind of impressive.
Yeah, which is funny because I haven't done much French since I was in high school, and my teacher back then didn't like the fact that I kept submitting assignments in mirror writing.
Okay.
Which I would do later, and when I get called out, I'm like, well, why'd you set April Fool's Day for the due date? You're kind of setting yourself up for that. And when I say mirror writing, I mean you have to hold it up to a mirror in order to read it.
Just to be sure, the professor is interested enough on your mouth.
They've been good sports about it. Usually with a passing grade, but a note saying never do this again, which I never promised I wouldn't. But I just said I would do my best to not do it again.
Yeah, maybe at the end we will have some French word of you, huh? Why not?
But with all of that in mind, first off, I do want to give my congratulations to you guys, since at the time we're doing this, you are just 300 shy of hitting 50,000 euros.
Yeah.
Which will be about 5 times what you were initially going for. You guys got funded in about an hour. But
yeah, it'll be a very, very long ride from the beginning. It's every Kickstarter, every campaign is a very long ride, and we are pretty happy of the results and the welcoming of MIR to the English language.
So, I know on the Kickstarter page it talks about your guys' introduction to role-playing being a long-ass Warhammer 2nd Edition campaign. But did you guys, even outside of that, did you guys jump around between different systems over the years?
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot. Yeah.
So I just begin, and Valentin, you take back the system tool because you're the game designer.
Mm-hmm.
Just for saying, of course, yeah, too much Warhammer for my own sake. After that, some White Wolf, basically everything.
Mm-hmm.
And after this, Game of Thrones, like we said, Legend of Five Ring, Cthulhu, because in France, before, I will say, like in 8 years before, Cthulhu was the #1 game, and we had it's a long story short, but we had a company publisher who had a very, very tragic story. He ran away with the money, and there is after runaway by cop and everything. But before this, the guy was producing very luxury edition of Cthulhu, if you were French, and we had way better editions than American people, for example, in Cthulhu. Cthulhu, of course, and De Genesis, and of course the name of the game, the terrible. I love the universe, but the system hates me.
Shadowrun?
Not Pathfinder. Your favorite game, Valentin?
Yeah, Shadowrun.
Shadowrun, yes. Yes, Shadowrun, of course.
So you've
yes,
got about 18 pounds of D6s somewhere.
yeah,
Yeah,
exactly,
yeah.
yeah. And 2 days for creating a character.
I spent some of my personal time trying to find a way to make a character in less than 3 hours in Shadowrun, but I failed. But
Yeah, I've
still the game.
yeah, you're far from an isolated case when it comes to that relationship between Shadowrun's universe and playing Shadowrun.
Yeah, it's like in fact, many things begins with Shadowrun because I discovered the universe quite late as a friend from work that was really in love of the universe and was telling me about all the dragon story from Shadowrun. I was okay. I need to dig this thing, and I got to the 5e version of Shadowrun, the one before the current one, and it was a shock, because all the stories, all the raw, all the cool thing I was heard about wasn't in the core book. It was just 550 pages of rules, and I was a little bit like, okay, so maybe I will have to take some time for that. And the game was really fun to play, but the rules was like, and from that it began by that because I tried to develop a character creation platform. It was like maybe 7 or 8 years before now, and it was the first time I was saying that we can do something in the role play industry, and it begins with a character creation from Shadowrun.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Now, with the MIR, given the approach that it's going, what would you say would be some of the bits of media that served as inspiration for the concept?
The core concept of the game, I will say, has like 2 main inspiration in just gameplay. It's a mix between Vampire the Masquerade for the very powerful character, and as you play more an antagonist than a pitiful character, we will be like growing and be more powerful. You become very powerful at the beginning of the game, and it's more about your trauma and your story than growing in power. And the other game will be like Game of Thrones, I guess, because I love the idea of intrigue. I love the idea of convincing people, not just because you have like 20 in charisma and it's become way more easy, or you just play bards, or because you play bard you're good at it. It's more it was a way to giving people player which we are not maybe not very charismatic, a way to influence the game, because what I feel during all the year, I'm more a game master, but I play like since my 16 years old, and I was always convinced that only people with great charisma are heard in a role-playing game station. So you can be like something like a diplomat, an emissary, a shadow character, who knows a lot of intrigue and stuff. If you have no charisma, nobody will hurt you. You will just throw a dice, and it stops there. And I feel this very sad. I want the system to represent an idea, a concept. And in Game of Thrones, where politics, family, and betrayal, sorry for my French, matters, I was like, oh, this system is not perfect. It had a lot of flaws, and the biggest was the translation. The translation in French was very problematic, at least. But the problem was not enough to mask the great idea behind it. Because for the first time, player had the opportunity to use the system to fight in social skill. It was not only like you can beat a very powerful knight, but who's like completely harmless in a social fight. And you can play a little daughter or a kid even and convince them to act for you. And I feel this so great. That gives like the chill of a new moment. You can improvise on it, and that's what's great. And of course, Legend of Five Ring, but I told this before, for the fight, and I would say the elegant system of you can play the same class, but each clan gives you a very different taste of it, and I love this idea of a big variety of system with only few change, which change everything actually.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and given the fact that you have the premise of characters playing as Echo Hunters, I'm guessing that same mindset is there. That even though everybody is an Echo Hunter, that's where the similarities begin and end between each character.
Yeah, exactly. One of the idea was to put different people in the same mission. They got different civilization, different point of view of the main event of the game, which is Rune. They got different power, which for some are very like hateful, for others like this is a blessing, for others this is technology. They don't understand each other. And worse than this, in the scenario or in the gameplay, the core gameplay, they are divided by tenets, which basically are not are more like a way of thinking what will be the rune for you when you are into the organization, into the MIR. And it was like during the play we had the test. Player has a lot of fun with it because they need to be interesting by the other player to understand what do you think this, what do you act like this, why do you want to do this. And in fight too, like in gameplay, like okay, you are warden, you can tank this, and I would try to run after the guy, and the guy said no, I cannot tank this. But you are warden. Yes, I'm a warden, but not like this. I cannot take this because my civilization is kind of fragile, if I will say it. I cannot tank. I'm more like a glass cannon, if you want. Oh, okay, so I need to change my plan. But yes, you need to roleplay about this. So how can you exchange about it? How do you want to talk about it? And even for the power, which are called the art, the main idea was to create story. Each time you throw a power, you're just creating a moment into the game, which will be a reflection of your civilization and the thematic of the civilization. It's the big idea behind everything is very simple. I don't know if a lot of people feel this, but when I was younger, I had this very, very long campaign, like 5 years. And sometimes you throw the dice because the system told you need to throw the dice. And we talked before of the famous and always forgotten rule 0, when you need to not respect the system if you're not having fun. But the thing is, the most boring thing about throwing the dice for throwing the dice is this don't tell a story. I want, when I throw the dice, feel like I don't want to fail. And if I fail, I need to feel the consequence of my failing. I need to feel the story. It's like when you are in a Call of Cthulhu and you died. Okay, I died, but I died. Okay, I become mad. Is my madness. I want this to tell a story. And actually, I'm a scriptwriter, and in my work, role-playing game has a huge influence on me, because everything needs to tell something. Even if in the first look you don't understand, or it's just a thing you don't, you want more focus on this. Every throw of dice need to tell a story. Otherwise, what do you need to throw a dice? And that's is very important for me.
I can certainly see that, and I can see the influence of Vampire the Masquerade when it comes to especially when it comes to the societies within the pact.
Yeah.
And because of that, if you don't mind, I'd like to play a little bit of, I guess, word association. Consider this the geekiest Rorschach test that you'll ever do.
Yeah, okay.
So, I'm going to go from top to bottom and list off the different societies, and you can tell me bits of media outside of it that served as influence for the look and or whatnot of that particular society.
Yeah, okay.
So, the first one would be the Cisterine Empire.
Yeah, so this one is very easy. Okay, so I'm a big fan of Byzantine Empire, and in my personal life, I'm in a way converting. It's a big word, but traveling to Orthodoxy. And Byzantine Empire has a huge influence about Europe, but nowadays nobody cares and nobody remember it. And when you live in France or Western country, you forgot about this. I only discovered Byzantine Empire when I was like 20, 22 years old. And most of the people of my age do not know what was Byzantine Empire. And I want creating a civilization where memory failed, when you feel the wrath of the age on your character. You were part of a very huge civilization, something more advanced than anybody. You're still the most advanced, but you're not at the glory you had once. You forgot things, and that's a part of me who want to talk about the perfect society of Platon, that's talk a lot about different political system actually, and what if it could be true. But the thing is, even if it's working in a way for them, it's still a failure. But they cannot accept it is still a failure. They want to say, but we will fix this. We will find a way to fix this because we are the greatest. We cannot really fail. Look at the success. Don't look at the problem. And this is why this is the main civilization of the game, because it represents a lot about. They will be a little bit egocentric, but a little bit about me, and a little bit about all the idea of the sacred, the ideologies, how we can fall. And actually, because this is a game a lot about psychological meaning, what is the biggest danger is to not understand or to not recognize the problem. Like, it's okay to have to fail. It's not a big deal to fail. The big problem is to not recognize when we failed. And actually, the last big influence for the Cisterine Empire was Chernobyl. I know this is very awkward, but I was very interested in nuclear before. And I have this crazy idea with Valentin. Of course, we never done it, but I have this crazy idea. One day I asked, can we build, like in a group of friends, a nuclear bomb? Of course we cannot, and you should not doing this by any means of a stretch of the imagination. But I made a lot of research, and the sad truth is this is not impossible. This is very difficult, but not impossible. And when you learn about nuclear and everything connected to this, I feel I had a lot of inspiration for the Sisterian Empire. Like, this is maybe one of the greatest evolution bond we had. And in the same time, this is like maybe the most dangerous thing one of the most dangerous things we unleashed upon ourselves. And we don't really recognize it.
Mm-hmm.
That said, I'm not anti-nuclear. That's just a reflection about the thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry. It was kind of a bit intellectual.
Yeah.
Sorry about this.
Yeah, I can get that. So the next one on the list would be the Kingdom of Anicia.
Well, this one is very more straightforward. This one is France and France. So this is like 2 times of France. This is a Gaul. Gaul was before the Roman came in France, and was the name of France. And when you live in France, there are a lot of people who say our ancestors, the Gaul people, would be in French les Gaulois. I don't know if there is like Gaulish people, maybe. I don't know if there is like real translation. But the thing is, the Gaulish came from Eastern country. Actually, they are like more Slavic country nowadays. And Gaulish, when they came into this part of Europe, destroyed the first civilization what was there at the time. And I want to make this feeling of the ancient culture when, for what we know, death is not a problem for them. They were like very fierce warriors. They were very like very good artisan. They were like very terrifying adversary. Like they were sometimes cannibal and they cut the head or eat the flesh of their adversary because not because they're like monstrous, but because for them death is only another dimension. When for us we ask the question, is there a life beyond death? For them it was not a question. It was, of course, there is a life, there is something beyond death. So this was one of the inspiration, and the other inspiration was medieval French kingdom of the 13th century mostly, because I want to speak about this era, which is kind of forgotten in France, and mix the two of them. It was kind of surprising for most people because, of course, these two civilizations not has no link together. We have some Gaulish word in French, but not a lot. And well, one of the most Gaulish thing who traveled the time was a barrel of wine, because they invented the barrel. But otherwise, we are like more linked to the French, which are, of course, why we named France, and in German, Frankreich and stuff like this. But anyway, Anicia was a way for me to speak about France, my feeling about French civilization, and how I feel about people who inspire me in my life and criticize my own origin, because I'm from a nobility family, and I want to criticize, not in a way like or everything in my childhood or of my culture as a shit hole. I prefer to say this I criticize this, but this give me strength or give me upper hand on some situation. It's more a discussion about it. But yeah, in a short way, Anicia is about France, Celtic, if you want, Celtic tribe mixed with medieval France of 13th century.
Yeah. So next would be the Isle of Delentar.
Yeah, okay. This one is kind of okay. First of all, I must say elves and dwarf are not the classical Legolas and Gimli. And a lot of people were like, what do you call them, elves and dwarf? Because actually, I researched a lot and I just came back to the origin of the elf and dwarf. And for the elf, well, if you walk into the symbol, elves are like not superhuman, but nymphia, fairy. They are like human who got transcended, who has been initiated to other things. So I want to be my elf really separate for other human beings. You cannot reproduce, you cannot be an elf. This is impossible. Like, for example, this is a total different species than human. But the thing is, okay, let's just imagine for a moment. We live in a world where there is a total, or there is a different species than human, and this species is more intelligent than us. This species is more evolved than us. And what will happen? Well, for what we know, when most evolved and most intelligent species meet another, they are not very kind. They don't always want to destroy it, of course, but they want to submit it. So my question was why the elf want to submit human? And at this time, I was working a lot about what we are, what we eat, actually. And I was like, okay, so the elf can love the human meat, can crave for human flesh. And that's a link to the idea, the first idea of the elf are like beginning of the deity. They are like little god, actually, when you came into the mythological idea of what and the symbol of what is an elf. Even in Tolkien, actually, they are kind of the closest to the Valar. And when you think about it, a lot of mythological story and everything related to this, as a god, so a parent figure eating their child, eating for, of course, because they are like beyond the law, beyond moral, but of course because they are like afraid of being passed and themselves devoured by their figuratively kids. So the elves, in a short way, are like very powerful creature who saw the world in 4 dimensions. I know this is not very scientific, but this is like a very good a way to talk about time and everything. So you cannot go back in time, but you can put your hand through a wall. You can go very fast, gain weight, lose weight, stuff like this with the mass and using time. And if you saw 4th dimension, basically you will be like a being so evolved that the other being around you will not understand you very well, and you will be like admired for what you can do, but of course feared. Like, imagine we just meet something or someone who can understand time as a dimension. That's a lot of Lovecraft reading which inspired me this idea, like the fear of the unknown in the worst fear. Because it will be very frightening for us. Like, all of human creation is in 3 dimension, even or 2 dimension, but 4th dimension, this is like, even talking about it don't make sense for us. And even for me, I just use fake word, I use 4th dimension, I use not scientific term, of course, because we want to have fun, it's still a game, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So elf has the idea to be, you're playing a little god, actually. You're not invincible, you can be killed, and actually your society is under human rules, because as a lot of mythological gods, you are very too proud, and humans are more numerous than you are, and one day your stock, your living cow, actually has a revolution and win over you. So you can be very powerful, but you need to play around it. Like all the civilization in the game has their own curse, we will say, named Stigmata. But when you play Elf, you need to play with the Stigmata in a way different gameplay than the other civilization. You will put your Stigmata to use it as a fool, to use your power. So it's a very specific gameplay. Everybody will be afraid of you, every human. And in the same time, they will all look at you like, oh my god, you can do this. You are very you can do things we cannot imagine or understand, actually. Let's say you're still not way more intelligent or stuff. Like most of the elves don't have the technology of the knowledge he had once. So again, I respect the classical stuff of the elf you can find in Tolkien, Warhammer, or the bigger canon universe about it.
Yeah. So then there's the Veneatory Republic.
Oh, this one I like. Begin very simply. I wanted to talk about Venice and the Netherlands, and mostly Free City. But what was Free City in Europe? It was the beginning of liberalism and the beginning of the merchant class become the most powerful one. It was the beginning of the humanism and a lot of things like this. And I mix this with of course I forgot the name. You know this game when you play underwater, BioShock. Yeah, with BioShock, because I love the idea of BioShock and what the creator of BioShock tried to tell. And it's basically a people who live into the anarchy dream, very like free liberty. And one day, the ruin for us is they cannot try anything new. They will need to have traditions. They will need to have order. They will need to have states. And this is like a huge This is very traumatizing for them because they are kind of the richest. They are not very numerous. They are not very. They're basically human with mask. But what is very powerful about them is each mask is like a symbiote, like Venom or Carnage, if you want, in the Marvel universe. And when you put in your face, you gain the knowledge of the symbiote. So before the rune, the idea of the civilization was to be one day a maid. You wear the mask of the maid, and the next day you will be the boss of the maid, and the next day you will be like, I don't know, a soldier, the next day, and again, because the goal of each Veneatory was to understand each aspect of life, to understand all the reality. The idea was they were like the only human elves don't eat, and they were like their favorite one, their servant. So elves give them or teach them in a way human can understand multiplicity and fourth dimension. Of course, we cannot understand this, but for them it was through the mask. But after the ring, the problem is the mask will not function anymore, and you need to choose one aspect for all your life. Otherwise, you become mad. And if you like very colorful character with a lot of very tragic story and a lot of bloody story, like in BioShock, it's the way to go.
Yeah. Now, shifting away from that, it's important to nail down the core of the resolution. What I refer to as the Rome effect. You know, all roads lead to Rome, and for the last I'd say 40 or so years, maybe even 30, depending on where you want to start it. There's been this idea of a centralized resolution system with a bunch of exceptions around it. So, with MIR, is it a case of you guys doing a dice pool? Is it a case of you guys doing aim high, aim low? What sort of core resolution are you working with?
Vas-y, Valentin.
And the idea on the system was to be really simple. So the resolution is based on day 12. 12-sided dice. And if you do a score that are better than 7 or equal to 7, one success, and if you get a 12, you get in the way of vampire parade, doing something that's really fine. And from that, some dice by being aware of some information. So that's the first layer. And the second layer is that all the conflicts are resolved by opposite dice. So either you're fighting or you're discussing with someone you want to intrigue or to convince. You will throw some dice, and the one that got the most of the success will win or will inflict damage.
Yeah. Now, you mentioned Warden earlier.
Yeah.
Is it a case where one's character creation is built around a archetype and built around a civilization?
So for the character creation, I need to say first, it's in the core book. So the core book is not for this Kickstarter, it will be for the next. This one is very centered around the discovery book and the scenario compendium. But to go back on the question, the idea on what we work, and this is essentially why the reason why we just create a discovery book before the core book is to gain more time, because we work around the idea of each civilization has its own creation of character. So in your core book, you have like 7 chapters for 7 people. And each chapter, you will, of course, we have lore and everything, but you will certainly have kind of a questionnaire if you want. So you resolve a story with a different choosing question from your childhood to your entering the MIR. And that's creating a story, a backstory for your character, and give you assets, skill, and path. That gives you, of course, numerous points to create your character with default and advantage, I would say. But the most important thing is each of the civilization has its own questionnaire, and some will look like a real questionnaire, some will look like more like for the Anicea, like a song, a medieval song for the night. It is very different, and each class it's very inspired by Legend of Five Ring, give you some bonus effects and some art to use. And the way of the class will work is you can be a warden from Anicea, so you will be a knight, Anician knight, and or you can heal your own flesh, you can provoke some enemy, can have like a bone weapon made of your dear one or loved one. You will be like a tank plus if you want. But if you play, I don't know, the warden from Veneatori, like I told you, you will be more like a glass cannon. You will be like playing more on inflicted, very serious wound. And the more you make enemy bleed or inflict wound, you will affect the other psychological. being, and they will be afraid, they want to run, they will be fearing eating you or eating other character. But in a way, you will not very being like a tank like the other class of the Warden. And it will be different, of course, for the Cistercian Warden, which is, is not using time, but let's just say can modify time around him. So you basically not very a strong warrior Warden, basically, but because you can, okay, let's just say I want to just jump this or avoid this attack, and I can, because I can make the time go slower and stuff like this. So the main idea around this is when you create a character, you need to choose a civilization, and the thematic of the civilization will be very, very important, because if you understand the thematic of the civilization, you will understand what's the power your character will have, and the story for your character you will have, like, to create your character. Of course, you can optimize your character to be like, I don't know, I want to maximize strength, like in D&D, or I want to maximize charisma for my paladin. Of course, you can do it, but we want this to be more focused on the story, so you will focus on the story to maximize your character.
All right.
And of course, you can create very chaotic character too, but there is still optimization.
Yeah. Now, given the fact that a lot of the mechanic is built around this idea of everything having a price, do you plan on within the book having a bit of advice for GMs who are coming to terms with this concept, so that they have some examples or some guidance to build around when it comes to inflicting a price on their players?
Yeah. So this is the second reason actually for the discovery book. In the core book, I will say this very fastly because we are like in work in progress on this chapter. Actually, the time I told you this, it's we're still discussing with the people we work in this chapter. But we work with some psychological, like psychanalyst people and stuff like this, psychiatrists. And the Game Master chapter is divided in scenario advice, psychological advice, and how to put and create dilemma. In this discovery book, we just create a lot of scenario and pre-gen character around the idea of everything need to be a dilemma. So the short way of doing this is normally in a classic fantasy world, player has a choice, but behind sacrifice themselves to destroy the evil character at the end of the campaign, there will not be a lot of choice. It will be basically a good and a bad choice. Are you clever or are you not? And this is not how a story works for me. A story works with a very simple thing. A character needs to change. And to change, he needs to have a ghost, if you want, a wound inside him. And of course, because we don't want to change, because changing is a very frightening thing. And of course, it's very painful things. We want to remain with our wound. Even that this wound is very painful, at least we know it. So we explain through the pre-gen character and through the scenario that each dilemma is a possibility to change. And a very simple one is, I take a lot of this one like an example. So you are in a town where there is a small minority in the Cistercian Empire, which is used by a politician to be a victim, to be the center of all the problem. He used them to cover his manipulation and everything. So the player will naturally denounce the politician and help the minority. But very fast, they will discover that if they do this, they will lose the help of the politician, or worse, they can kill him or he can run away,
Mhm.
and the city will fall in anarchy. So the idea is to help you investigate and fight Eco. You will need some time to be ally with monster, but you're not by any mean um, forced to do so. You can have other paths, like you can help the minority, help the rebel, help them to win, to dominate the city. But each time you will choose a thing to do, there is not be good or evil. Like the politician is surely a monster, but he will explain you he act like this because he needs time to put his scheme in place, and this is his scheme is for the better good, if I will say. The rebel, at first the minority appear like a very good people, innocent people, but when you understand, and I don't want to spoil, but at the end you will understand they are like rebel against the MIR because they used forbidden knowledge and stuff like this. Of course, you can understand why they have to use it because their life was in peril. But still, so you don't have like a good or a bad choice. You are like in The Witcher, actually.
Yeah.
Do you want to help the innocent? But your mission will be way more hard, and probably you will betray your own oath. Or will you help the tyrant?
It's funny you bring up The Witcher, because there's one concept in the games that this is unfortunately not in the books, but that's a whole other story. Of that whole concept of the silver sword for a lot of people believe the Witcher's silver sword is for monsters, and the iron sword is for not iron, no, steel sword is for humans. And whenever when that's first brought up, Geralt immediately corrects it and says both are for monsters.
Yeah.
You know, because what a lot of people think as monster is non-human or demi-human, whereas for a Witcher, anyone and everyone can be potentially considered that, depending on their actions. Now, with that in mind, what are you guys shooting for as far as a total page count? I know that might change because of stretch goals and the like.
To be sure, like I'm not sure to fully understand the question. Like
page count for the Discovery book is what I mean.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah. 161 in French. So because you lose word in English, you can expect something like 140, something like this.
In fact, there will be some changes between the French and the English version and the rules, and it actually takes more place. So the actual count of pages is 170 pages for now. And maybe a bit more because some new characters has been unlocked in the campaign, so I guess that the book will get some weight too.
Yeah, I can certainly get that. And what would you be shooting for as far as a release window? Not a hard date per se, but an estimated range on the calendar.
But for now, the idea is to finish the layouts by the end of the campaign. And from that, between production and shipping, I said that normally everything should be good by June 2025, taking into account unexpected problems or things like that. So normally, you will get the PDF version of the books not so far after the campaign, and the physical version will arrive like mid 2025.
All right, I can certainly get behind that. But with that said, I do want to sincerely thank you two for taking the time out of your schedule to come all the way to my temple and enjoy the madness that happens around here.
With pleasure.
And
With pleasure, it was great. Thank you.
anytime you see fit to return, the door is always open. As I often say around here, drinking is not mandatory, but it is encouraged.
Thank you.
And of course, a sincere thanks goes out to everyone who took the time out of their schedule to come onto the show and enjoy the madness. And there will be plenty more where that came from, as there always is here, on the open bar of the internet. But until then, on behalf of the good brothers present and not present, my name is Mildra, I am your gaming monk. Stay fucking frosty, everybody!
Then